There was also another story that emerged. I think it was an attempt to smear you, Adam. It was the idea that you had been operating without a business license. And at first that sounds, oh my goodness gracious, an unlicensed restaurant. But as you told me off camera, there's a whole lot more to this story in terms of what it is to operate without a license and how many businesses indeed are operating that way. Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing I'd like to clear up is that operating without a business license does not mean that I've been operating outside of any health standards. See that green pass right there on the wall? We have always passed every single health inspection here for the last 5 years. In fact, at one of our first ones, I put up a quote from the health inspectors on the wall that said, one of the cleanest places that we have ever seen. So that has nothing to do with the business license. That license applies to my Leaside location and my Etobicoke location. Up in Aurora, they don't require that municipal license, which I consider to be a bit of a tax grab. It's about $500 a year. And the story there, when I opened this place up, I was a young entrepreneur. I started with a very small amount of money, no investors, just me and my wife. And I looked up online, the City of Toronto interactive zoning map. I clicked on the area and it said this is an employment industrial area. You're allowed to have a restaurant as long as it's under 500 square meters. Well, that's perfect. Mine's under 500 square meters. I should be fine to operate. So I built out this place. As you can see, it's kind of bare bones, a lot of plywood. Me and my wife built this place with our bare hands. She learned how to do drywall taping, a woman who's never done any trades work before. I learned how to do a lot of work and framing and plumbing, and we built it all with our bare hands. When we applied for the business license, they said, oh, you can't get a business license in this zone because there's an old zoning bylaw from the 1960s that is not available anywhere online for you to find information about. You would have had to come down to City Hall and we'd photocopy it from you from an old book. They told me though, not a big deal. Here, take a fine. It's about $500, very close to the price of that business license. You pay that and we're good. Very soon. Okay, I'll go put on the show for you in just a sec, okay, buddy? Can you just run back over there? I'll come over in 2 minutes.
So that's interesting. It's not about really any kind of licensing. It's just about the city getting their pound of flesh, whether it's a fine or a license.
Yeah, exactly. So for 5 years, once a year, I'd go to court, I'd pay the fine, and they always said, this zoning issue will work itself out. We're going to throw out those old zoning bylaws. 5 years ago, I was told this could be anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months, but it's still in limbo with the city because of this zoning amalgamation. So there was never any further enforcement action. It was like, give us our piece, and I had no problem. I never made anything public about this because I had no issue with the $500. Keep in mind, in my most successful year in 2019, we did over $1 million in payroll. That means over $100,000 in payroll tax and several $100,000 of HST collected. I am in no way avoiding any taxes or dues to the city, and the idea that this $500 license that they're kind of making it out to be that I'm avoiding it is a total joke. It's $500. I could pull that out of my back pocket right now and throw it down if it would make this go away. It's a zoning issue. I can't do anything about it until the city does.
And you allege there's so many other businesses in the area that are operating exactly like that.
I don't know that for certain, but I can only imagine there are because there's a lot of people who have to comply with not just a 50-year-old zoning bylaw that's completely outdated, but also a new zoning bylaw that the city wants to move towards to make the city a better place.
Well, folks, you've probably heard the news by now. YouTube is undoubtedly coming to kill us. They have completely demonetized us. The other day, they gave us a strike for no good reason whatsoever. So please, we want you to stay in touch with Rebel News. Go to rebelnews.com. That's rebelnews.com. We need some of your personal information, such as your email or cell phone number. Trust me, we don't share that with anyone, but we want to remain relevant to you, and we can't depend on YouTube any longer.